Today on World Business Special, I'm taking you inside one of the most dynamic transformations underway, not in Silicon Valley, but in Riyadh, as Saudi Arabia races to redefine itself as a knowledge and innovation powerhouse. One of the boldest bets is being placed on a space once seen as pure entertainment. Esports, no longer a fringe subculture, competitive gaming is now a global industry projected to surpass $1 billion in revenues, fueled by live streaming, sponsorships, and an audience of over 500 million viewers. But this isn't just about figures. Esports is fast becoming a cornerstone of Vision 2030, an engine for economic diversification, youth engagement, and digital infrastructure. Well, at the heart of that effort is NES, or NES Sports, a company building more than just production studios. It's helping to create the future of education, employment, and entertainment in one sweeping move. Well, leading that charge is Elie Honain, from motion capture facilities to school-based esports curricula. His approach blends business precision with cultural insight. NES isn't just participating in a trend, it's building the foundation for Saudi Arabia's next economic chapter. Well, joining me now is Elie Honain, speaking to us from NES's state-of-the-art production centre in Riyadh. Elie, it's great to speak to you. Thanks ever so much for joining us on World Business Special. Now,
thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Take us back to the start of the journey for you, because NES has come a long way, but in a relatively short space of time. What was the original vision for you behind starting the company?
So it all started when I started my first esports in Qatar, and we all heard the news of Savvy Games Group coming to life and all the wonderful initiatives from the Saudi Esports Federation. And then I got a call from NESMA Holding, which is one of the largest conglomerates in the kingdom, leading construction company based in the kingdom, owned partially by the PIF, contacted me and said, "Elie, you got to move here to Saudi." And then we brainstormed together on all of the possibilities and what are the gaps in the market. And we decided together to enter this wonderful partnership to build NES. And NES is basically one of the leading companies now in the kingdom, taking a lot of interesting and wonderful jobs to empower this ecosystem. And the main driver for this was all the government initiative, the leadership that the Savvy Games Group and the Saudi Sports Federation kind of aligning on building and acquiring major key players from around the world. So we were, I believe, one of the early entrants in the market, and we decided to be part of Vision 2030 and capitalize on all this exciting investment opportunities that the kingdom offers at the moment.
And Elie, for those people watching that may not be as familiar with your industry, just explain in layman's terms what it is you do, and give us an insight into how you work with different types of customers, different types of clients.
Yeah, sure thing. So we have three main divisions within NES. We have a house, so we have built a state-of-the-art production studio where it is very modular. So we're able to really have live broadcasts. We have a virtual studio with XR Studio. We have a green screen over at NES, so we're able to utilize the entire space and build different formats for different types of clients. The second division is the gaming and esports division, which basically we're able to produce a lot of live events, tournament operations from end to end, from the concept of creating an IP all the way to the execution of running this tournament, whether it's online at our studios or it's physically at a suitable event space, for example. And the third thing that we're focusing on is talent management. So we do a lot of activations and brand activations, and those usually, those sort of campaigns are very heavily reliant on gaming creators and influencers. And we have an amazing experience of several years of experience with these local and international content creators and within the gaming and esports industry that we pair depending on the client's needs and KPIs.
And Elie, we mentioned at the top of the show Saudi Arabia's wider Vision 2030. Obviously, a big component of that is youth, innovation, digital infrastructure, many areas where NES has expertise. Just tell us a bit more about the role of the company when it comes to supporting that strategy.
Absolutely. So I'll just give you some high-level figures here. There are over 67% of the demographic of the total population of the kingdom that are considered gamers. So we're talking roughly about 22 to 23 million gamers in the kingdom. And there's over $40 billion of investments that are being poured into the industry, part of the entire value chain. So it really is a staggering number when you look at this as an opportunity. And for us at NES, we're part of one of the key stakeholders, because believe it or not, there are going to be 39,000 jobs by 2030 available within the gaming and esports industry. And what we've currently doing is we're identifying where are the shortfalls or the gaps to fill those seats. And what we're doing, we're working very closely with schools and universities in the kingdom to develop and upskill the current student base, because the gaming and esports industry is relatively new and very youth driven. So it's heavily reliant on fresh graduates kind of like getting their feet wet during their time at university so that they can continue their career path either as a professional player or works in events and operations, logistics, and content creator, whatever it is. So we're really, we see that there's a very big gap in terms of skill force, and what we're trying to do is upskill and develop them very closely.
Elie, I think a lot of people watching could remember being told off by their parents for spending too much time playing games. But how do you train to be a professional game player? Is it like anything else, any other area of athletic or technical ability? It just requires lots of practice, lots of training. Give us an insight into what these players are actually doing to get up to the standard they need to compete.
Absolutely. So typically, similar to what sports is, you have the esports element, which is a highly competitive environment, and it's really all in your head. So you need to be very skillful at controlling your emotions and being able to really focus and spend a long time training, because similar to what you have in basketball or any other sports, esports is also very, very highly technical when it comes to strategy, when it comes to whatever health and benefits that you need to make sure that your body does not fail you when you're training for over 14 hours ahead of every competition, especially when you have a few $1 million on the table that everyone from around the world is trying to grab. And the one of the key elements within the industry is that these kids are very, very young. So there's a lot of emotional and psychological issues that they face whenever they're training, especially at long hours. And I believe what we're trying to do, especially when we're working closely with the Saudi Esports Federation, they have the Saudi Esports Academy where they train currently a few thousands of students to become professional players. And it really is very heavily reliant on every person's ambition of becoming a professional player, because it really depends a lot of, it really is what the student or what the player wants to achieve, and that it requires dedication, hard work, training, but people often disregard the mental element to it, and I think the psychological element, because these guys are being watched by millions of people online, and whenever they're losing, there's a lot of trolling that happens online. So what we're trying to do is create a safe space. The publishers are doing a fantastic job to make sure that there are no toxic behavior, and they're controlling that space very heavily. So yeah, similar to what you have in sports, esports is absolutely at the same level of performance and competition, and especially when you have it mentally, when you really need to be focusing a lot, and there's really little room for error.
And Elie, you talked there extensively about the collaborations to support education and development. What about other partnerships, commercial partnerships with international brands like Red Bull, for example? Tell us about how important those partnerships are to the development of the sector.
Similar to what you have in the sports industry, esports is absolutely the same. You need to have strategic partners and sponsors that will help you to utilize some of their expertise. So, for example, you see a lot of the Red Bull athletes, the way that Red Bull takes care of their athletes and empowers them and give them the right platform to, exceed in terms of performance. They are one of the main key enablers in the region. Globally, actually, they have wonderful initiatives when it comes to esports. They just signed recently a partnership between Team Falcons and Red Bull. And Red Bull, we worked very closely with them. Last year during the Esports World Cup in 2024, we built together at our facility the Red Bull Player Zone, which offers all the Red Bull affiliated partners, such as teams or players. They came into our facility. We built a really amazing performance center for them at NES, where they could come in and train from our space, away from all the noise, especially when they're going through the different phases of the competition. They always need to have some brainstorming sessions to still understand what went wrong and how to improve their strategy, especially when they're playing against a different team. So there's a lot of really key sponsors and key partners that will help you and enable your growth and for you to become a major key stakeholders. Usually when you think about sponsors or partners, you always think about endemic brands. But today, esports is no longer just about endemic brands like hardware companies or technology companies. Now you have a lot of brands like FMCG companies or hotels, or from the different parts of that are non-endemic to esports or technology that are really empowering and growing. You have financial institutions giving incentives to all these young gamers to build their portfolio over the time. You have a lot of FMCG brands that are giving these wonderful products to enhance a professional player to have a sense of comfort and products that are dedicated for their well-being. So it really is an amazing space and very exciting space for brands to kind of pair up with these gamers and give them amazing add-ons for their lifestyle, because esports today is a lifestyle after all.
It's very interesting, the point you made there about non-endemic brands, as you put it, actually being a huge growth area. I think everybody can see that in the development of these competitions, these events, and the associated marketing messages around them. When you look at your amazing facilities in Riyadh, when you look at what's going on in Doha, in Dubai, is something special, do you think, happening in the MENA region, in the Gulf region, that's just making it almost become like a place where esports investors and players are converging at the moment?
Absolutely. So one of the main reasons why there's a lot of interest now for foreign companies to come into the region is because esports, whether it's in the kingdom, in other states, within the GCC space specifically, or the GCC region, is because it's government backed, meaning that there's a long-term investment. And what usually is the case is that whenever you see a government endorsing a specific sector, you see that there's a lot of investment, infrastructure, services, and other sort of support programs that will help and enable these companies to relocate and be part of the growth, so that it also motivates the private sector to also start investing and looking at this more of a strategic pillar, which you don't really see in other locations, for example, in Europe or in North America, for example, where you don't see it fully endorsed by the government. And this is one of the this is one of the also youngest regions around the world. So in Saudi, 70% of the of the Saudi population is below 30 years old, which is exactly within this target market for gaming and esports. Hence why the Crown Prince has decided to make it as an investment. And just for you to know that the gaming industry globally is bigger than the music industry and the film industry combined. Wow. And this poses a wonderful initiative and positioning for the kingdom to take charge of this massive market.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Elie. I was going to ask you more about that, actually, that relationship between what you want to achieve commercially with the organization and also the overlap with how you want to contribute to helping to develop the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So when we first decided to enter the space, we really did a study to see what are the gaps. And I believe that the kingdom, one of the most important and one of the most thriving parts within the value chain of gaming is content. There's a lot of appetite for content. There's a lot of appetite for higher production value within the esports industry. So we position ourselves as the enablers for improving content, whether it's a live broadcast that you see, whether it's through fan engagement, or whether it is empowering the local content creators to make a voice for themselves to kind of show the rest of the world what Saudi culture is all about or what the Arabic culture is all about. So we work very closely with a lot of the tournament or operators like EFG or ESL Faceit Group, with the Saudi Sports Federation, and with other stakeholders like STC, for example, where we basically take over a lot of their tournament operations and broadcast. And we work a lot with teams like Team Falcons, Twisted Minds, Power, because they're not only esports players, but they also have content creators. So we build shows together. We help them build IPs. And I think building IPs is a very, very important element, because what I understand from the market and from the GCC market is that they want it to be culturally relevant. They want kind of content that comes from the region that emanates to the rest of the world. And this is something that I see us playing or being a vital core pillar when it comes to empowering or enabling this market.
Another subject that's profoundly important both to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the GCC region, but also to your industry is sustainability. Just talk to us a bit about how sustainability factors in your strategy for NES.
The nice thing about gaming and esports is you barely see any printable material when you attend live events. It's all LED screens, it's all technology. A lot of the tournaments are being done online, so no need for travel or accommodation, which really minimizes the carbon footprint when it comes to tournaments. And from what I understand, even at events, a lot of the sustainable products and materials are being used. So we're basically not printing a lot of material, but we're using AR technologies, VR technologies, and even especially for the remote broadcasts or for the online broadcasts, we're really cutting down because we're using PCs, and PCs today in terms of power does not consume a lot. And if you look at the future of this industry, it's going to be heavily reliant on servers, on cloud technologies, for cloud gaming specifically, where you no longer need to have PCs deployed. Instead, you can just connect to servers that are either stored or deployed in the region, or you can use the advanced infrastructure. And one of the nice things about this region is that it's very, very technology advanced. So you have 5G technology, you have fiber technology anywhere available within the GCC countries, which is really interesting because it does have that right infrastructure, so that we're able to deploy these powerful servers that will enable you to have everything done through a remote data center, instead of just having to bring in all these equipment into one location that will increase your carbon footprint.
It's fascinating to talk to you, Elie. We wish you and your whole team at NES every success as you embark on your next stage of growth. Thank you very much for being with us on World Business Special.
Thank you so much.
So esports is no longer a niche, it's a national strategy. As Saudi Arabia invests in infrastructure, talent and education, companies like NES are showing what it means to lead from the front. The game is on and the world is watching. That's all for this edition of World Business Special. From all of us here at AnewZ, thanks for being with us.